Hey, this is Derek Murphy. I wanted to make a video to commemorate being nominated as one of the top 100 best sites for writers for my main blog, which is CreativIndie. And I thought I'd briefly, casually talk a little bit about how I built a writing blog that's useful and helpful to the point that it's been recognized. These kind of awards, let me comment first of all that it's a little bit of a vanity metric, and the way it works is that a big site will nominate 100 sites and get them to vote. Voting is always a little bit, like, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best, it just means it's the most popular. Something I personally hate are the cover design award contests, where some websites will get a flood of traffic by telling authors that their book cover has been nominated for an award, and then they get all their people to vote, drives a lot of traffic, and then they sell author services. I'm not a fan of those because it tends to be the case that those aren't really great covers anyway. It's just like designed by crowdsourcing is not the way to get to a good cover. In this particular case, the WriteLife is pretty well known, so I am happy to be listed. Especially, I was put between Jane Friedman and Dave Chesson. I think I said that right, of Kindlepreneur. Those are two luminaries, even the publishing space. I've been around a while. I started CreativIndie 7 years ago or something, and I built it intentionally. I had some other failed websites or failed projects that didn't really work. I built CreativIndie on purpose to try to be, I don't want to say popular, but I made it an intentional blog with a purpose rather than just random personal musings. I've aimed to put out a lot of value. Even so, I'm not particularly proud of my blog. I don't blog very hard or very often. It's mostly just rambling stuff. The reason it's valuable is I tend to do very long case studies. Some of my articles, if you can even call them that, on CreativIndie are like a book length, basically. They're like 30,000 words long. I tend to do a lot of research. I tend to write really long blog posts. I don't think I have some people follow bloggers because they have a great personality, a great writing style. I don't think that applies to me. Some people follow blogs because they put out regular content, weekly, bi-weekly, whatever. That definitely doesn't apply to me. I'll tend to go on like a binge where I might publish 10 blog posts in a month, and then for 2 or 3 months I don't publish anything. Despite all that, I've got a lot of backlinks because I have some really strong pieces of content. So that's my first kind of little comment about me personally in this space. They also divided on the WriteLife top 100 blogs, I'll link to down below. They divide it into like tips for writing or writing software or, different things. Mine's probably under book marketing because I talk a lot about launching and book marketing stuff. But the other interesting thing is that I already feel like I've covered the basics a million times over. Nothing's really changed. There's different tactics for publishing on Kindle. But the main thing that I stress in all my videos and all my content is that most authors never get to the bare minimum bar, which is cover design, a set number of reviews, and your blurb, which has to convert, which means you have to know what your book is and who wants it, and you have to package it and position it in a way that appeals to them. Unfortunately, the vast majority of writing blogs talk about the craft, or they talk about publishing or submitting to agents or whatever. A lot of it is like, most authors, I would say like 90% of authors, are still working on their book and they hope to get it published. And they want to get it published by somebody else because they want someone else to take care of the marketing and the book design and everything. And I understand that impulse. The problem is it's extremely competitive, and most authors don't actually have a commercial book, because the other half of writing blogs or writing websites will tell you, focus on what you love, don't worry about the market, don't do it if you don't enjoy it, don't worry about the money, all that stuff. So what happens is 90% of the authors are not trying to write commercial projects. And so even if it's a good book or a well-written book, there's no market for it. They can't sell it to an agent or a publisher, and they will also fail if they self-publish. So the problem is really writing the kind of book that people will actually buy. And most authors resist that advice or that impulse. It's seen as selling out or you're being a hack or whatever. I spent the last 3 months writing a book to try to help people overcome some of those issues with a very deep guide to the craft of writing called Bookcraft. That's not right now being favorably received. Potentially I made some mistakes with that book, or what I feel is probably more authentic is just that, as I mentioned, 90% of the audience doesn't want to hear this advice, even though it's absolutely crucial and it's like the one thing. So on the one hand, I think my stuff is really valuable and effective. The people who have used my strategies or been saved by my resources, I find a lot of people who say they were struggling for a long time, and they found my practical, no-nonsense, like step-by-step guides incredibly useful to help them get over the fear of finishing and publishing or self-publishing and marketing their book. So I'm glad that my resources have been useful, but I still feel like I'm fighting a losing battle against that 90% of authors who aren't really ready to take the core message of my advice. And they skip all the write a book that people want to read, and they focus on the launch, the marketing, and that stuff, which can be a little bit effective, but won't solve the core critical problem. Anyway, I've been kind of lax on my website. I get a decent amount of traffic. I get a lot of signups, but I'm not very smart about running it as a business. I could be posting more content. I could be doing a lot more. At this point, let me talk for a minute about what, the future of CreativIndie holds as I gaze into my crystal ball. I'll probably start developing more new content, but it will focus a little bit less on the basics of publishing. I'll probably be posting more of the stuff that I personally enjoy, which is the research on creativity, creativity and independence. Creative independence is the theme of my blog, which is about making money with things that you make or create, which as a starving artist, I spent a decade trying to be a fine artist as a surrealist painter. I have a lot of experience. I've also got a lot of experience with failed book projects. It's not the case that I'm doing everything right. It's not the case that I'm making tons and tons of money with my books. But I do know quite a bit more than the average author who's just starting out, not only in my own projects, but after working with and helping thousands of authors with my free resources. Probably like over 100,000 people sign up for my free resources, and then at least a couple thousand have gone through some of my courses or templates or whatever. So I have a lot of experience not only producing my own books and publishing them, but also helping people identify why their books aren't selling and how to fix them. That's some of the stuff that you'll find on CreativIndie. I will try to organize it all because I know it's kind of a mess right now. But I'll organize it, I'll increase traffic, I'll focus a little bit more on my funnels and my products and try to get my passive income off the ground a little bit more. But mostly in the next year, this is the beginning of 2021. I was actually nominated last year also for the top 100 writers writing websites of 2020. So it's kind of nice to get the second round confirmation for my blog. I do feel like it can be more tailored and more organized, which is an immense project. Eventually I'll have to do a total rehaul and redesign the website, which could take like a month. So it's not the top priority right now. Although it needs to be done, I'm actually much more excited about writing fiction. And that also gets me back into the space because when I'm helping authors, I'm really just doing the same things that I already know. I'm not discovering or pushing boundaries or learning new things. And the thing I'm really good at is trying out new things and taking risks and discovering things that I can pass on and share, which I do on YouTube or on my blog. I have never yet finished a full series, so I'm really excited. I'm working on the 4th book, which I hope will be the end of one series. Then I'll do the 3rd book of another series, the 2nd book of another series. I'll probably finish, ideally I would love to finish 10 novels a year. In reality, I tend to be a 3 or 4 book a year author. So we'll see how that plays out and how well I can manage my time this year. That's really the only thing I'm working on is fiction. If I can finish 3 full series this year, that'll already give me a really strong leg up, because right now I can't be competitive with my fiction because I don't have any box sets or completed audio box sets, which really makes a huge difference when you're advertising. So by finishing some box sets, I can go back and fix up my fiction website, which gets a decent amount of traffic. I have 2 fiction websites, the YAShelf.com and urbanepics.com, but I don't post very often. I don't update a lot of content because I'm not publishing frequently. I think I put out 2 or 3 books last year. So this year, 2021, I hope I'll finish 3 series. If I really am lucky, I'll put out 5 new series, which will be 15 books that I can market and advertise. Ideally, that would put me up to about 10K a month in fiction sales. There's a weird thing with advertising too. I can just about break even with ads already. I think I checked recently. I spent like $500 on ads and I made $700 in revenue, which means, $200 a month, which is not a lot, which is why it hasn't been my priority or focus. But hypothetically, if I could spend 50 grand a month on advertising and make 70 grand a month in profits, that's 20K a month from book sales with the same, ratio. I'm not confident about that at all. I'm not particularly gifted at running ads yet, but the reason they don't work for me, the reason they don't work for most people is they don't have enough content to compete with, the other people who have big, long series. They get massive page reads and they can just outbid you for all the keywords. So it's hard to stay competitive and profitable with advertising because there are other players in the space in your genres that just have, so much of an advantage. So I'm hoping this year to kind of break into that upper level limit. I can make like $1,000 a month with my Kindle sales without too much, I won't say without too much effort. It's actually a lot of effort. And I feel like I'm marketing or advertising and it's not worth it at that price point to command that much of my time. But if I can get that up to like 10K a month, then that's full-time living income where I can just focus on writing new books and managing my marketing and my advertising. And that's my career, basically. I'm really excited to get there. I will probably keep writing nonfiction too because I love writing nonfiction. But I've realized from this last book launch that, people like my really simple, practical, straightforward nonfiction stuff about publishing that I'm not particularly proud of because I don't think it's very interesting or very good, but it is useful and it's not confrontational or, what's the word? It doesn't, like, the strange thing about Bookcraft is that some people really like it, but some people really, really hate it. The reviews have been really awful. To an unexpected degree. I figured it wouldn't be for everybody. I figured a lot of people wouldn't be able to get into it. I didn't expect the harshness of the critical reviews, which has been interesting because this is a book, unlike all those other ones that I published earlier, this is a book I really spent a lot of time on trying to put in more storytelling or metaphor or more personal anecdotes. I put a lot more of myself and my interest into the book, which is what people didn't like about it. Which is a good lesson for me. If I want to continue publishing nonfiction, I'm going to have to find that balance between how much is too much. Anyway, that's a different subject, but those are some of the things I'm working on. If you follow me here on YouTube, I tend to post more content to YouTube than I do anywhere else because I can just record a video. It's kind of a form of procrastination for me. It's also a way of me exploring my ideas when I have an insight. If I just talk it out, I tend to get more clear on what I'm saying, which has been really useful for me. It may not be very useful for you, and I apologize that my videos seem unedited and rough and rambling. Maybe someday I'll figure YouTube out enough to start, polishing better and doing some editing or at least putting in an intro or whatever. I would love to fix the kick-ass lighting so that it looks awesome behind me. I haven't figured all that stuff out yet. But there's a lot of room for improvement. I'm really excited about the platform that I've got right now that I could be using to reach more people. Something I said recently somewhere was that I'm happy with, I'm happy that I'm helping people. I'm happy that people send me emails saying how much my resources have helped them. But since I know the majority of the big money is hard advertising things and making a lot of money from authors without maybe delivering the same type of value, I feel a little bit of a responsibility to try to compete on the monetary side so that I can reach more people. Because since I know my stuff is good and it's helping people, I would rather get to people and have them go through my resources than pay for some bullshit overpriced coaching or course bundle. Some of them can be really useful. I know a lot of my friends who are peers in the space who provide a lot of detailed help for authors, but I can never recommend any kind of publishing or book marketing package or service because I personally don't know any of them that are worth the money, which is what I try to teach people. Don't pay for that stuff, learn how to do it yourself. The problem is 90% of the audience, they don't want to learn any of this stuff themselves. They just want to pay somebody else to do it for them. So it puts me kind of in a moral dilemma because I have nobody to recommend, but I also won't offer them an alternative. The only thing I offer people is education. I'm really strong on, you've got to learn this stuff. You have to manage all your own publishing, at least to the degree that you know how it's done, because otherwise it's going to be really tempting to pay for some publishing or book marketing package that is not worth the cost and doesn't fix the crucial issues that are so important, because otherwise you'll never see success or profit with your books. Anyway, I just want to make this video to kind of shout out, yay, congratulations, I've been nominated for the top 100 best websites. Check out my resources on CreativIndie. Go through the list. I'll put the link down below. There's a lot of other really good writing resources you may not be familiar with yet on the list. It's worth going through that list and following them on Facebook or Twitter so that you stay abreast of industry news. Whatever the big changes are happening. Self-publishing is really an awesome space where there's a lot of really cool people who give out a lot of amazing free value and tips. You can significantly improve as long as you're willing to learn. Most authors are not. They just want to do it their way themselves. They don't want to follow people or be active on social media or, learn when new developments come out. They just want to work on their book and get somebody else to straddle the gap. I can't think of the right terminology, but they want to think of somebody else. They want to pay someone else to take the book that they've written and somehow make it successful by eliminating that impossibly large chasm between what they've written and what the audience is willing to pay for. That's not something anybody else can fix. They can, do their best to help take what you've written and communicate the benefits or be attractive to the right audience. Ultimately, the book is going to sink or fail based on whether or not the targeting was right and whether or not the audience likes what they've received. A lot of it is about managing audience expectations. So you can't just pay to make your book successful, which is why writing the right kind of book is so important. But if you're starting out, there's nothing better than following all the leaders in the self-publishing space, paying attention to what's happening, get active in the Facebook groups. Even if you're just, your daily Facebook feed is full of smart people who know what they're talking about, and you're getting the right kind of messaging instead of just a bunch of spam traps or clickbait or whatever. Anyway, I'm going to post this video. I might make some other ones today. I haven't been active on YouTube lately because I've been working on other projects. Let me know if you have any questions. Subscribe if you haven't yet already, and best of luck on your books.